Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Lean Six Sigma for everyone. Today I am going to talk about CTQ, critical to quality. CTQ focuses on understanding and defining the essential requirements of a product or service that are vital to meet or exceed customer needs and requirements. CTQ, we can also call it as cost, time and quality. Identifying CTQ is a strategic, aligning product or services development or modification as per the customer requirement. This fosters enhanced satisfaction and loyalty of customers. CTQ also helps in connecting intangible customer expectations to a tangible and measurable product or service specifications. Let's get into more detail of CTQ. So CTQ is coming from voice of customer, what customer feels about your product, services, offerings. So customer will give the VOC, and from VOC you will try to understand the criticality for the customer. So those will be the drivers you will try to identify based on the VOC. You can take an example of any pizza shop, coffee shop, burger shop, any particular shop. You can take an example, and customer can go back and say in a various ways about the product or services. Customer can say that the time is taking too much to deliver my product, so I am not happy. So, and this example is relevant for most of the shops or most of the services. So here the customer is saying the service is getting delayed, and for that reason customer is not happy. Now that is a VOC from the customer. You have to understand the criticality for the customer perspective. Now customer says delay. So what is the expected line for the customer? So you have to find those drivers. Let's say customer is waiting 20 minutes at the current situation. So you want to improve from 20 minutes to, let's say, 5 minutes of waiting time. So your customer becomes a delighted customer, happy customer, and you are retaining the customer as well, and the customer keep coming back to your shop. So from there you are trying to get the tangible or measurable outcomes from the customer VOC. The another way of CTQ gathering is the requirements of the processes. Sometime you will have the internal or external regulations. Based on that, your critical to quality can come in. You have contracts, policies, service level agreements with your customers, with your vendors, clients, right? Accordingly, that will drive your CTQ. So CTQ is going into very specific and find those drivers which can help to deliver best services or best satisfaction to the customer. As we understand what are the baseline for the CTQ, let's move on to developing a CTQ tree. How can we develop this as a CTQ tree? So first thing is capturing the voice of the customer or having the requirement from the processes or the service level agreements, and then identify the critical needs, right? We talked about the critical need of the customer, for example the delay, the timing. In that way you will focus on that particular element, right? Timing, the tag time or SLA, that will be your focus area. Then break down the needs into CTQ. Then you will break down the timing, what is acceptable line, what is not, and then you start working on those areas likewise. Then once you have all these elements, voice of the customer, you identify the critical needs, you break down the needs into CTQ, then you can develop the CTQ tree with help of these elements. Also, you need to define performance standards for each CTQ. That is very important. The tangible numbers, like we talked about, right? The number you can give that this number is acceptable for the customer. It can be into a different ways as well. You can break it down CTQ into three major elements or major categories: cost, time, and quality. For example, for cost, so you have to understand what cost customer is ready to pay, the value for the customer, right? So the value for customer can be different for the product to product or services to services. So very important you understand the value that customer is ready to pay for your product or services. So I can give you an example. So for easy understanding, let's say we all use the mobile phones, right? And some people use very expensive iPhones and different brands phones, and some people use very moderate level phone which is okay for them to for the daily usage. Some use very low specification phone because their usage is likewise. So there are set of customers whose preferences are different, their value levels are different. So one customer can say that, for me the expensive phone is a value, but there are other customers where they don't want to buy that expensive phone because they don't feel that value for that phone, because their value is different. So here you need to understand the pulse of your customers. You need to understand what value your customer feels about your product and services, right? Another one is time. You need to understand what is the acceptable time for the customer: TAT time, SLA time, right? Waiting time. It should not happen customer gets dissatisfied because of too much of waiting time, or your TAT time is not meeting the customer expectation. So you understand the customer need and come up with the accordingly the TAT time or cycle time or lead time, so that you're delivering within the expected time for the customer. The third category is a quality. So you have to also focus and understanding the quality perspective, the standards that customer is expecting, right? So like we took an example of pizza, coffee, burger shop. So any of that is quality is very essential. You have to understand from the customer perspective. Here you can have a different matrix as well. Customer can say that I'm not liking it due to the taste, due to you do not have varieties, it's not fresh. So here the components and the matrix can be different. So you have to now make those VOCs into critical to quality and understand, okay, if you customer is saying fresh, then how long it should be fresh? Like you should store only for 4 hours, and within that time you need to consume it and provide, or a daytime is good enough. So you have to come up with the standard which is acceptable for a customer. Then it comes to, let's say, varieties, right? You have 4 to 5 varieties and customers are expecting the more, then you have to add more varieties, and then you have to look at which segment customer is more interested, so you can come up with more variety in that particular segment instead of putting it variety where customer is not interested. You can do a CTQ in a quality management perspective as well, so wherein you will set up the monitoring systems, you will create procedures and controls in place, you will do a regular measurement and analysis, and feedback mechanism, which is a continuous improvement. The CTQ helps to ensure further that process is customer centric, because whatever services and product or offerings you are working on, that's all for the customer. So customer needs are the supreme here. So you need to make your modifications and specifications according to the customer requirement. CTQ helps in performance measurement and performance management as well, since you get the specific element, what customer needs is, what the customer's requirement is. So that helps to focus on the performance improvement. CTQ also helps in the upcoming stages of DMAC phases, because it gives you the drivers, it gives you the current state of the process. You know what is the current state and what is the criticality, what customer is asking for, so you can, based on that requirement, further do your projects. Alright, let me give you some example and template so that you can use it. Right, so you look at this template, it gives you the VOC theme, means your problem statement, or you can say where you want to gather the feedback from the customer, or what is your main target area. So you can put here as a main your theme, and then you have to find the drivers, like we talked about the time, we talked about quality, we talked about cost. So in these three categories you try to find what is the important thing for the customers, and then try to connect with those with metrics and KPIs. So that will help you to get towards the solution. You can pick up any product, any services, and you can do your own CTQ on VOC, so that it gives you better clarity, that what we talked about, you try to put down on those as a customer need and drivers, and then the requirement of those drivers. This is all about the CTQ, critical to quality. I hope you find this video interesting and educational. Thank you so much for your time. We'll see you soon with another video. Thank you.